U.S. Marshals Service announced last week it's increasing protection for abortion providers across the country. Among those that's had U.S. Marshals assigned to protect them is Dr. Warren Hearn, one of the few remaining doctors in the country who perform later-term abortions. Dr. Hearn joins us now on the telephone from Boulder.
The glee expressed by the anti-abortion fanatics is just grotesque. It's ghoulish. These people, this is a violent terrorist movement in this country, and the American people need to understand that there's a great deal more at stake here than the activities of one doctor, of the service of one doctor. Of course, this is a great loss for women, but this means that we have a very highly organized, active, well-armed, and well-funded terrorist movement in the country that opposes the basic premises of American society. These people are opposed to constitutional democracy. They're opposed to the rule of law. They're opposed to democratic government, representative government. They're opposed to basic personal freedom. They're opposed to thought. This is a tremendous step backwards. Why does a doctor who's simply helping women have to be under guard to protect the doctors from being assassinated by these fanatics? This is outrageous. We have to have some changes in attitude. I think that the President of the United States has to go on to address the nation, but this is a crisis. This is a serious, serious crisis. And make a clear statement that hasn't been made before by any President of the United States, that women have the right to have a safe abortion, that safe abortion is a fundamental component of women's health care in this country, that doctors should not have to fear for their lives to help women, that the anti-abortion violence and terrorism has to stop. It will not be tolerated. That the people that threaten doctors and threaten women, threaten the clinic workers are terrorists, and they will be brought to justice, and they may not do these things. The anti-abortion fanatics need to shut up and go home and leave other people alone. You know, if they don't like abortion, don't have one. I mean, it's just outrageous. This is a witch hunt atmosphere. This is an era of persecution. This is just intolerable.
The consequences of Dr. Tiller's murder are a tragedy, not only to his family, not only for women in Kansas, but for women everywhere, especially in areas of our country where there are relatively few medical providers. Where will women go for the medical help that they need? I hope that leaders on both sides of this debate will look at the savage killing of Dr. Tiller and call to account those who would use hate, intolerance, and fear to divide us. My heart goes out to Dr. Tiller's family and friends, and my prayers are with them.
This resolution condemns the murder of Dr. Tiller. It condemns the murder of people who are murdered in church and places of worship. It condemns the practice. It condemns the practice, and it has become a practice, of seeking to change the laws of this country, of seeking to intimidate women from availing themselves of their rights, of their constitutional right to an abortion, of intimidating doctors from availing themselves of their constitutional right to perform medical procedures that are legal, that they believe are moral, by threats of murder and mayhem. I was glad to hear Mr. Smith say that the pro-life movement is nonviolent, and I'm sure that most of it is. But unfortunately, it's clear that there are some people, a small minority, who believe themselves part of the pro-life movement who are not nonviolent. And I trust that everyone in this House today, and these people, have engaged in conduct that have killed, murdered several providers of abortion simply for doing what they believe to be the right thing, what I believe to be the right thing, and more importantly, what the law allows them to do. and to intimidate other people from doing this. This resolution, which I trust every member of this House will vote for, says that we do not believe in trying to change the law by violence. We do not believe in domestic terrorism, defining terrorism as an attempt to change the law through murder and violence and mayhem. So I trust everyone will vote for this resolution to express our horror at what was done in this instance, to express our belief that social change, if necessary, will be brought about by peaceful democratic debate and by votes, not by bullets, and that this country stands for the evolution of law by debate and by consideration and by democratic means. And I urge everyone to vote for this resolution.
The House resolution passed by a vote of 403 to 0. Dr. Hearn, is it enough?
Yeah, look, I'm listening to these statements. It's very interesting. The last statement talked about changing the law through violence. Now, wait a minute. The anti-abortion movement is a terrorist, fascist movement. They do not believe in the rule of law. They reject the rule of law. They're not trying to change the law through violence. They reject the American Constitution. This is a very dangerous movement, and it's not just a minority. Tens of millions of people in the churches around this country believe that Dr. Tiller got what he had coming to him. They believe in violence. I mean, this is the Christian, some of the Protestant Christian churches, fundamentalist churches, and some of the Catholic leaders have used this hate speech to vilify Dr. Tiller and other doctors, and this has directly led to this violence. Wait a minute. The American anti-abortion movement wants a Christian fascist theocracy. That the only difference between this movement and the Taliban is 8,000 miles. In fact, the Taliban wants a Christian, wants a fascist Islamist theocracy. This is people need to understand what's going on here. This is a violent movement. They don't care for the laws. Freedom of access to clinic interest laws need to be applied vigorously.
The FACE Act, the Federal Access to Clinic Entrances.
But I mean, I'm not sure that that's enough. We need to go prevent these assassinations from occurring. I mean, catching this guy and putting him in jail, that's okay. That's a minimum response as far as I'm concerned. But this guy was on the radar for weeks, years.
Well, he had broken the FACE Act twice in a week, the day before Dr.
Yeah, he confronted one of
Dr. Tiller's death.
Medical colleagues, another medical colleague of mine in Kansas, a long time ago. I mean, this guy's been
He superglued the locks of the Kansas City Women's Health Clinic the day before Dr. Tiller was killed, and the manager of the clinic. He should have been arrested. The manager of the clinic called the FBI and told them.
They did nothing. He should have been arrested. This is a national crisis. This is a very important point in American history where the anti-abortion movement has ratcheted up the level of violence, and they have shown that they are willing to accept any level of violence, including assassination of a doctor in church. What have we come to? Kansas is on its way back to the Dark Ages, but we let Kansas go back to the Dark Ages. But also this was a consequence of the official persecution of Dr. Tiller by Kansas authorities, Kansas Attorney General, Kansas Legislature, Kansas Board of Healing Arts. I mean, this is fascism. This is the use of the coercive power of the state to crush an individual. On January 22nd, 1995, they had a press conference in Virginia and announced their hit list of the first 13 doctors they wanted eliminated. The mafia has the decency to keep its hit list private. The mafia is a decent, upstanding, respectable civic organization compared to the anti-abortion movement in this country. The anti-abortion movement in this country is the face of fascism in America.
I don't believe that anybody is above the law. On the other hand, I also have a belief that we need to look forward as opposed to looking backwards.